So when it comes to the soul transitioning into the next plane of existence, which is the astral realm, because there's the astral realm that's actually in between the physical and the spiritual world. Um, that transition takes place in three different ways. So the goal, right, is conscious transition. So when you die, you go to the next realm. It looks just like this because you still hover on the lower realms at first, but um, you're conscious that you've died. Then the other way is unconscious transition. So that is basically where you transition to the next realm unconsciously, and you can spend a certain however much time it takes you to wake up there and be in kind of like in a dream world where you are on the other plane, but you don't know you are, and you reject the fact that you've died. That's why there's a lot of movies like in Dead Like Me, like when they try to tell people that they've died and they don't believe it or whatnot. That's kind of an allegory for that. And the other one is actually traumatic transference. So this is when something death it completely comes unexpectedly, like some crazy, like a like an accident or something like that. That could be kind of a traumatic transition. However, the angels and the hierarchies and God and the universe make it so that, for one thing, your body goes into shock, so you don't feel it. You're popped out of your body before anything happens. But when you go to the next realm, you have no idea what happened. And it can be hard to adjust to that new plane. Uh, yeah, it's hard to get your memory back, but essentially, there's people on the other side who have occupations that are for specific units. So, like on the other side, on the astral realm, where people have died and realized they've died, moved on with their life, they actually get occupations, and some of those occupations are dealing with the physical realm. So, one of those occupations is like the traumatic. They are going to go in for traumatic actions. It could be relatives. Usually, you're assigned your relatives. Like if you know someone that's passed on and you know that this person's going to get in an accident, they're usually forewarned and told to go down and be ready for this person who's going to be appearing here. And they always know when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen. Somehow, the astral plane is fully well ahead of what's going to happen here. And then there's other units too. Like there's when it's just a peaceful transition, like in a care home or a home or whatever. Obviously, there's going to be a different unit of angels or people that are going to come. Of course, when like children die or teenagers, children or adolescents, there's another unit for people that help people like that transition. Even though it's been told by seers that people like adolescents and child and teenage transition more easily because they're less preoccupied with beliefs and certain structures of mind frame. So they actually have an easier transition. And it was said that when children transition to the next realm, they actually live out their life. So uh, let's say they die at 14, they live their 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 until the coming age of their soul in the astral realm. They don't come and reincarnate. They finish off their kind of their realm there with other children who have also died. So it's not just some holographic dream. There's other children there. Um, and the most part, I guess the most fascinating part of it is the astral realm is just a little bit more fluid and translucent and just like this. So most people that go there, even when you go in your sleep, you just don't know that you're anywhere different until if you've recognized, okay, I've died, you have a relative telling you you've died. It might be hard for you to believe, but after a while, you're going to have to spend your day there because you're never going to wake up here again. There is no waking up here. Whatever you were doing, whatever job you're doing, whatever family you're raising, whatever you were doing here is done. You are in at. You can communicate with relatives on the physical realm, but it's just your thought transference mostly. Unless you're very highly spiritual developed or have a very high spiritual bond, then you're able to appear for your relative. And they've documented this where before someone dies, they're in different states or different countries, and they'll see their relative in their house or something, telling them, "Hey, I'm okay, don't worry," and then they'll get the call. And that happens through the energetic astral bond because there's a bond of astral when the person dies in this country, they appear to the loved one in the other country to tell them they're okay. Even though, and they'll be like, I saw them. How could I see them? I saw them in the physical realm. See them physical, just like, how you would, you know, literally see them in the physical body and then disappear. Um, so there's been reports of all of this. And essentially, in the astral realm, yeah, they transition to the next life. They know more about immortality than us here. We're studying it here, but they also are not aware fully of what's going on. They're just in another environment with a sky, with buildings, a ground, people, places, and things to do. And things are always spontaneously happening in the astral realm. It's just activity. it's a it's a process of that type of movement. On the other side, if you, let's say you don't have relatives, sometimes children don't know their, sometimes people die before their grandparents die, or their parents. Who was there for them then? There's actually people that specialize in being there for people that don't have solid connections on the other side. But the great mystery is before your great influx down, before you split from Adam and Eve, you split from your Eve or Adam, and you've come down as your Adam or Eve. Whoever, if you're a male, it's Adam. If you're a female, it's Eve. Once you're down the spiral of incarnation, you've met many friends and acquaintances and relatives beyond that beautiful journey down to the physical realm.
Before you were born?
Premortal existence. Yeah, premortal existence. And that premortal existence is, it's the pathway, that's when you remember. A lot of people talk about their past life regressions. And what they don't understand is they're remembering previous lives on more subtler dimensions. And it's nothing but excitement. When you go to that next plane and you know that you can fly, and even though people are flying and have flying chariots and vehicles of all sorts, the modus operandi of how to transport yourself is still walking, because it's so similar that you still have your physical habits. That's why on the lower parts of the astral plane, people are still eating. And that's what an earthbound soul, not that, but that's why on the lower levels of the astral plane, you could become an earthbound soul. Is the worst thing that could happen to you. And that's basically being so obsessed with this physical realm that you become a wandering electromagnetic ghost that vampires off other people and tries to vicariously live through people and just wandering around in here. And that happens all the time. And that's many a cause of people's bad habits and impulsive things, like people that commit crimes. A lot of crimes are done by the influence of disincarnate beings that you've let yourself become vulnerable somehow through some type of action or thought or way of thinking or living, and you've opened the door to these earth dwellers. I'll call them earth dwellers or whatever. And what they do is they try to siphon your energy. And they're immortal too. Everyone's immortal. But once you're done from the physical life and the soul's cut off from the physical body, no one can ever return to the physical plane. But you will be in another somewhat subatomic physical plane. It'll be a protoplasmic plane. So there's still matter, like I said.
What does that mean, protoplasm?
It means that there's still going to be matter, substance, a type of matter, but of a different law. It has different laws, for example. Like things don't have as much weight as they do here. Things could be heavier than you think or lighter than you think. Whatever you can, your environment changes directly impacted by your mind. So you can make yourself light and float, or you can make yourself heavy and dense and stuff. Or you could like pick up an instrument and play it like never before. There's no resistance. So everything moves fast and everything is clean cut. And like I said, you can't conceal your true heart's desires and thoughts, because that is who you are there. You have no physical body. And usually you just kind of like multiply what you were already here. And most people, like they said, the average Joe, average people, right? Just people who are just going about life, they make it well. It's usually you have to be, if you want to make it somewhere real good, and even they transition up higher levels, but usually here in the physical realm, you have to either be preoccupied with some type of holy quest, some type of beautiful divine inspiration or epiphanatic way of life where you're under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit and creating, or you become preoccupied with something that's not, or family. Maybe you're preoccupied with your family and your connections with your family and your loved ones, but or maybe you're preoccupied with and bad things
Or
too.
you're just a regular person who's
Yes.
not preoccupied with things.
They just transition to the next plane of existence and live that same similar type of lifestyle, really, except this time they know that they've died. They're aware that, okay, I've had this previous life on Earth or a place that looks just like this. I'm in another dimension.
You're not gonna die again.
Oh, there is a certain type of death in that realm that happens when you transition to the celestial spirit realm, because souls are in the realm of sorting in the astral plane for quite a while before then they transition into the spiritual spheres. Those spiritual spheres are where you're immortal. Because in the astral plane, there's still, it's almost like still physical sensations still happen and stuff like that. You still can be harmed. You don't have a physical body, but you can still be trauma. There's still a lot of negative, positive, and negative things going on in these seven subtle astral realms. But in the spiritual dimension, you have a body of spirit and fire. Spirit and fire. In the Upanishads, it says directly that once the soul becomes immortal, it acquires the body of fire and spirit.
So you're like a flame walking around.
No, actually, you look just like you do now, except your body will be made of different atoms. If that makes sense. Yeah, so that was a good. In the next realm, you can associate with people that are still physically alive here, but only in their unconscious state unless they're physically awake in the astral plane in the physical realm. For example, if you're having a collective dream with people that you know here in the physical realm and you're awake in the astral plane and you let them know that you feel that you're in a different dimension, they may doubt you and say that they don't believe you and say that you're crazy, and then they're kind of like part of the dream world, right? It's the unconscious aspects of the people here in the physical realm. Now, if one of those people in the physical realm were deceased and have already woken up on the next plane, then they would be able to understand and coagulate that information and understand that, oh, yes, we are also in a different dimension here. We are awake in another place, knowing that our physical body is either deceased or physically just asleep here in the physical world. So when you do communicate with people that are already alive once you passed on, you're still able to communicate with an unconscious aspect of themselves, and that's where a lot of the signals and dreams and signs come from. And that's why with people that have a good bond, will send messages from beyond the tomb, either at the time of death or shortly after. But it's very important to know that the astral plane in the next realm, we've been lied to. We're told that we're a genderless soul, a floating head, or just simply go to the void, or that we're reincarnating. These are all earthbound, beliefs of limitation. And until you overcome these limiting beliefs and understand that once you physically die on the physical cross, here is the physical body, you will resurrect as an immortal spirit. That's what the story of Jesus is. You don't resurrect as an immortal spirit and then come back onto that's crazy. So it's always eternal progression, and we have to prepare for that next realm because it has less like physical laws than we do here, but even more spiritual laws. So a lot of the things we say, think, and feel affect us way more than they would do here. This has just been a preparatory period that's preparing us for that. So as for the soulmate aspect, because we descended and we split from another half, whether you're physically female or male, now is determined by who you are when you split from the supernal realms and the higher dimensions before you came to your first physical incarnation and your last physical incarnation before you ascend up the ladder. Essentially, most people, and especially in this age that we're in, do not actually meet each other on the physical plane. When you do meet your soulmate on the physical plane, it's considered a blessing from the gods and goddesses. So if you're with a solid partner, that could definitely be your twin flame or your soulmate. However, it is known that people that die single or did not find their soulmate or their marriage were disharmonious, they meet their other half in the superior dimensions after this physical life is over, essentially. So that's what has been told from the ancient seers, that you will find your other half either here or there. And once you do find your other half, you guys do become a whole one, but still separate. So now that you're separate, you're still functioning as a single entity, even though you have your physical male and female form. And once you transcend the astral realm, where you'll have a house, a job, occupation, but this time your occupation will be your holy occupation. That could be transitioning people from the physical realm to this realm. It could be helping instruct ideas or esoteric ideas or scientific or medical inspiration to the physical realm. See, the people in the astral plane are very occupied with the physical realm in a way of being able to influence subtly, and also are trying to figure out where they are and who they are. The question of who you are and where you're going still continues even after death. It's just that now you have a head start because at least you know now that you've transcended the physical body. Each realm has its own kundalini system. Each plane of existence has its own subtype of nervous system, even of different type of particles or realm. We're not particles, but atoms, super sensible atoms. And this is what makes up those superior dimensions. And each time you transcend to another realm, obviously it's going to be based on the merits of your heart and also how much you self-realized here in the physical realm through acts of charity, self-knowledge, reflection, and basically all the 12 aspects of the zodiac and the 12 houses. You go through this throughout your life, and it basically um, alchemicalizes the soul, and it creates it. That's why you're being created in God's image now. The story of Genesis didn't happen, it's happening now. So it's not that it happened, it happens, and it's happening. And the great work of Genesis is not finished yet until you've acquired your immortal body of spirit.